Hi everyone, welcome back to Brain Dump. My name is Kai, and this is a show where I talk about pretty much whatever the fuck I want to talk about. And I have a very special guest today. If you're watching, because you can only see him if you're watching and not listening, obviously. This is Pedro. Say something. Yeah, so that's Pedro, bestie. Literally, we're like, hey, so don't go anywhere. So, like, come back. Hey, so, like, come back. Hey, so I need you. Hey, can you come back? He doesn't actually like me. Whatever. Where was I? Number one, this is the first thing I want to say. If I keep on looking over here, I'm making sure that it's still recording because I just recorded this episode for the first 4 minutes of it and it wasn't recording. So that was great. So we're going to start over. 5, 6, 7, 8. We got this. Before I start, I also want to apologize for the amount of times I said dude in last week's episode. I hate myself. I hate myself. Why the fuck did I say dude 5,000 times? So I apologize for that because that would make me turn off the podcast if I were a listener. So I'm going to refrain from saying that word. That's the goal. I was just about to say it. It's just in my vocabulary, you know? We're still good. Just want to preface, per usual, that I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just a 21-year-old that's struggled with mental health pretty much my whole life, and I'm just here to share my personal experiences with these topics. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Today I'm going to be talking about things that I've stopped doing because I have a lot of bad habits that, some I'm still working on, some I've, haven't completely kicked out of my life, but bad habits can lead to bad things, and I've created a list of things that I've stopped doing, so let's just get into that. First is saying yes to everything. I used to have a really hard time saying no. I was a people pleaser. I still am in some aspects, but I feel like I have a little more self-respect and I know how to say no now, but I used to just say yes to everything just because I wanted, whoever I was pleasing to be pleased, yeah, so, and I know I made an episode that was titled Say Yes Now, Figure It Out Later, but if you listen to that episode, you know that I don't mean say yes to everything. It's just, saying yes to everything put me in some situations that I didn't necessarily want to be in, and that's not fun because, we all have our own life, we all make our own decisions, and I made decisions that would actively make me miserable, as I said in last week's episode. So, yeah. Next is procrastinating on my schoolwork. Let me tell you, when I was in high school, I would procrastinate the shit out of my schoolwork. Like, there would be a 5-page essay due. What did I have? 2 months to do it? Best believe I'm starting it the day before the deadline. Like, it was that bad. And that's why I got such bad grades in high school, because I really didn't apply myself until, 5 hours before the deadline? And also now I'm paying for my education. I'm giving this university money to give me an education. I might as well get good grades, There's some people in college that just don't try. Like, I'll have these discussion boards in my classes, and some people just don't, they don't even spell things correctly. They don't put punctuation. I'm just like, what? I'm just a little confused because you're paying for this, right? We're all paying to be here. Why are you not even putting in any effort to spell things right? But you know what? You do you, not my life. Trying to please everyone is the next thing. I think that's also, kind of intertwined with always saying yes. I just wanted to make sure everyone got what they needed from me, and I thought that meant that I could never say no, which is simply untrue, because you can set boundaries and say no. Speaking of boundaries, neglecting my own boundaries is something that I've stopped doing. I used to set boundaries with people and immediately go against what I just said and would completely just not care about it. And deep down I would care. Deep down it would hurt me still that this certain thing was happening, but I was enabling this person and I was neglecting my own boundaries that I set with them. which isn't enjoyable at all because we set boundaries in order to protect ourselves and protect our peace. But when you're neglecting your own boundaries, you're kind of just moving backwards and not doing anything to help yourself. Next is making excuses for other people's bad behavior. I try to see the good in everyone. That's something that I do try to do still, but I'm done making excuses when people treat me badly. Like, someone will treat me like shit, and I would say to myself, they probably just had a really bad day. But that gives them no right to take it out on me if they're having a bad day. Oh, something hard happened in their life recently. Okay, that's valid, but that doesn't give them a right to treat me like crap, you know? Like, you can't excuse other people's bad behavior simply because they're having a bad day or having a hard time. We're all responsible for our own reactions to our emotions, and if someone's taking their anger or their sadness out on you, that's not fair. Next is expecting other people to change when I'm not willing to change myself. Wow, this one, I used to be a really big hypocrite and also avoided accountability at all costs. Like, I would seriously not want to take accountability for anything. Like, I've talked about this before, definitely. I carried that ignorance of when you're a child, you think you can do no wrong. I carried that into adulthood, and I thought that I could do no wrong, and, you know, I can make no mistakes. That's not true. Hey, we're people and we're gonna fuck up. So I would want people to change certain things about themselves, but then I would, like, turn around and look at myself in the mirror and notice that I have a lot of things that I need to change about myself, but I'm not willing to, so why should I expect them to? Next is apologizing for things that aren't my fault. This was a big thing for me. Saying I'm sorry, dude, shut the fuck up. I apologized for existing, which is, I think that's a big problem for a lot of anxious people. I'm sorry, my existence is bothering you, you know? And I know it's not, but there will be times where I will think that me just existing, me being in a room with someone, it requires an apology. Just my presence, which isn't fair to myself, and that's so degrading to myself. And I don't want to do that because I like myself, and I don't have to apologize for just being who I am and being here. Next is not tracking my expenses. I used to be really bad about not focusing on where my money was going, and I would spend my money on stupid shit like fast fashion and just, I love Etsy. I'm a huge slut for Etsy, but I wasted so much money on Etsy. There's just a lot of shit that I don't need, you know, and I would be really bad about tracking my expenses, and I would wind up not having enough money for my bills, and that's, you know, top priority. Gotta pay my car payment, gotta pay for Hot Works, gotta pay for groceries. Like, there's just things that I need to prioritize before I can get fun shit like things on Etsy. Next is avoiding change because it felt uncomfortable. I love change. I'm always saying how much I love change, and it is uncomfortable. Dude, it is... Shut up. It is so uncomfortable, and it makes you want to squirm out of your body when things are changing and it feels like crap. But the change is there for a reason, and you're heading towards the person that you're meant to be, you know, and that in the back of my mind gives me hope for the change, and if the change is hard, that means it's working. Next is mindlessly scrolling. This has become a lot easier not to do when I deleted everything, but even after re-downloading Instagram, it's so different, and I really don't enjoy it as much. I really enjoy the photo diary aspect of it, and I love that I can just put a little compilation of my photos together each month and post it on Instagram. I think that's a great way to keep a little photo diary, but I don't engage in scrolling, really. It bothers me because if I scroll, it means I'm scrolling for hours, and I don't like that. Next is engaging with negativity online. This is another thing with social media. We all want to engage with the people that hate. Like, we want to respond to them and be like, what the fuck are you saying? Which is not, it's not the best for your mental health, because you're giving this stranger that only has hateful things to say so much of your energy. And like I said in last week's episode, you gotta manage where that goes, because you don't have an unlimited amount of energy. And I think wasting it on strangers that will probably not even give two shits what you have to say it's not worth it, you know? It's not worth it to engage with it at all. Next is saying I'll do it tomorrow. And I want to mention Mel Robbins' 5-second rule when I say this. I used to say I'll do it tomorrow all the time. Homework assignment? I'll do it tomorrow. Making a call to the doctor? I'll do it tomorrow. Doing something, I don't know, really important? I'll do it tomorrow. Like, I would make these excuses for myself and put off really important shit. And I want to share the 5-second rule with you because it's so cool and it's very helpful, and it sounds stupid. It's going to sound stupid when I say this. You're going to count down from 5 when you don't want to do something. When I'm getting up in the morning, I don't want to get out of my bed. Who does? It's so comfortable and it's so warm in there. But, sorry, want to make sure I'm still recording. We don't want to get out of bed, but we have to. We have to get our day done and get the shit that we need to do done. 5-second rule. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you get the fuck up. This is from Mel Robbins. She's a podcaster and an author, and I really enjoy her as a person. And when she was explaining this on her podcast, she explained how she saw a commercial about this rocket taking off, and it was just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's what she uses to get through shit. Just, you want to get up in the morning, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shoot right up. Just like that rocket. And since she explained that, I really have a different outlook on the 5-second rule, and I think it helps me in a lot of aspects of my life. When I don't want to do something, 5, 4, 3, 2, fucking 1. Do it. Like, there's no excuses. Count down from 5 and you're gonna do it. Next is expecting life to be fair. Life is not fair. I'm not gonna say that word. Life is not fair. Like 99% of the time. And it sucks. It does. But we can't expect it to be fair when we know it's not. That's not fair to ourselves. That's giving ourselves unrealistic expectations about our life, and that's a really big way to bring yourself down, which it's not fun. Saying I'm not good enough before even trying. There have been so many things that I have avoided trying just because I didn't think I was going to be good at it. For one, this podcast. I had thought about starting a podcast for so long before I actually did it, and I just thought that I wasn't going to be good at talking. I love to talk. I love to talk. It's one of my favorite things, but I don't really have a lot of people to talk to, and I enjoy just yapping about whatever's on my mind, and I thought I wasn't good enough for that. I thought I would run out of things to talk about, or just be boring, or trip over my words, which, yeah, I do. And yeah, I edit it out because I'm a little embarrassed about it. But I think with these videos, it's getting a little harder to edit those things out. So you're probably going to hear me trip over my words a little more than I usually do. We're working on it. It's a process, but it's gonna get better, I promise. College is another example. I did not think I was good enough for college. I thought I was dumb. Truthfully, I graduated high school thinking that I was a dumbass and thinking that I shouldn't have made it past my sophomore year, because after COVID happened, I kind of checked out, completely checked out, and I really didn't think that I should have graduated at all. But now I know I learned all that I needed to learn to graduate high school, and now I'm in college, and I didn't think that I would be good enough to be in college and learn the things that I have to learn in college and take the classes that I have to take. I limited myself because I thought I wasn't good enough, and I think that's a big reason why I took the gap year, because I had never wanted to go to college. In that gap year, I didn't think I was going to go to college, but towards the end of it, I was like, maybe I do? ? Maybe I do. Hey, maybe I do. And guess what? I did. Guess what? I'm in my sophomore year of college. Isn't that crazy? I thought I wasn't good enough then. And now I know that I'm capable of learning, and I'm capable of doing things on my own. I did this all on my own. I applied to college on my own. I registered for my classes. I didn't have my parents telling me to do this. A lot of people's parents push college down their throat, and I think that's a big reason why I'm enjoying college so much, because my parents were never like, you have to go to college. Neither of my siblings went to college. Sorry, my mom is out there sweeping. Next is telling myself that I don't have time when I 100% did. I did this a lot with reading, that I just didn't want to finish the book that I was reading because I don't have time. I have so much going on. There's always time to read. There is always time to read. And, also just procrastination. Like I said, I was really bad about that and just would tell myself that I don't have time for it. When, oh, but you have time to play video games? Oh, but you have time to play Life is Strange Double Exposure 3 times? I'm going to talk about that soon on my third replay of the game. Oh, but you can binge watch Dexter, Big Mouth for 6 hours? Like, I have time. Next is interrupting people during conversations. I used to be a terrible listener, truthfully, an awful listener. And I think it's something that I've gotten a lot better at. But there was a time where I would just interrupt conversations and make it all about me. Because, dude, I loved being the center of attention. And again, I thought I could do no wrong. And interrupting people is rude. And I care what people have to say when I'm talking to them now. And I used to just be engaged in only myself and in my mind. And it wasn't fair. There was a lot of things that I used to do that just wasn't fair to me or the people around me, Next is over-explaining to justify my decisions. We make a lot of decisions throughout our life, and I don't think that all of them need to be justified. There will be some things that you will feel the need to explain, but you don't always have to explain yourself. Like, you can make decisions just because you want to make that decision. You don't have to justify it to anybody, because it's your life. So, next is assuming other people know how I feel without me telling them. This is another big thing. I used to expect people to read my mind all of the time. Oh, you don't know how I feel? Oh, you need to know how I feel. How? Hey, how? What? I used to just expect people to literally read my mind. And that's not fair because, hey, no one can do that. No one's gonna understand how you feel unless you tell them. Our minds are so complex. We can't just figure it out by just looking at you. Next is saying I'm fine when it's not. It's okay to not be fine. It is. That's plain and simple. Next is ignoring my need for self-care. Today's my day off from work, and today I'm making it a self-care day because it's needed sometimes. I've been having a really hard time mentally the past couple days, and it's getting better, but I think I need today. I spent like an hour, 2 hours earlier reading. I did some painting. Later, I think I'm gonna get a coloring book from Target and then play my video game. Oh yeah, because I'm playing Life is Strange Double Exposure for the third time. It's so much fun. I used to ignore my need for little things like that to make myself happy because I would not think that it's necessary, and I would think that doing things for myself won't really make a difference. Like, yeah, I'm doing things for myself, but what is this doing for me at all? It makes me happy. Hey, it makes me feel at peace. It makes me feel relaxed. And sometimes we need that. Sometimes we don't feel relaxed because I'm an anxious person and I'm constantly just kind of sitting on the edge of my seat, and that's not the greatest feeling in the world. So sometimes I need self-care and I need to have a day to relax. So next is letting my past define me. I've made a lot of questionable decisions in my life. I'm not proud of some decisions that I've made, but I used to let my past and my past decisions define who I am as a person, and I thought that I was a bad person because I did some bad things, but that's simply not true at all. So, just gonna put that out there. Next is rejecting compliments. I used to be so bad about, taking compliments. I love your outfit. I love your hair. I love the color of your eyes. And I would just say, oh, no, so ugly. What? Huh? I'm sorry, huh? So, oh, God. Oh, thought my camera was about to die. I would seriously just think that I wasn't good enough for compliments and that I wasn't deserving of it. So I would reject them and just not want compliments at all. But I appreciate compliments. I can appreciate a good compliment and how it can make me feel, Next is thinking that I have to be productive all the time. I used to burn myself out a lot because I would force myself to be productive and think that I wouldn't have a full quote-unquote successful day. Is it quote-unquote or quote-unquote? Quote-unquote. Quote-unquote. Am I an idiot? Wait. I've always said quote unquote. Like quote on. Is it quote unquote or quote unquote? It's quote unquote? I always thought it was quote unquote. Now it's starting to not even sound like a word. Quote unquote. Quote, I don't even know where I was in that sentence. Quote unquote, couldn't tell you where I was, but I would feel the need to be productive all the time to have a satisfying day, and that would like burn myself into the ground, which is not fun, and it's not good for yourself, which is why we need self-care days. Dismissing my needs as unimportant is another thing. That's also kind of coincides with self-care days and just understanding and recognizing that you need to take a day off and you need to take a day to do things for yourself, and that's an okay thing to do. It's not something that you should be ashamed of at all, ever. Having notifications on my phone, that is something that I would have notifications on for everything, and ringer on, I'm ready. I'm at the ready for those notifications. Not anymore. No. I literally have this preset on my phone. You can't see it, but it says, leave me the fuck alone. That's what the preset is. And guess what? Allow notifications from people, none allowed. Apps, none allowed. So that's my settings at all times. So if you don't hear from me, that's why. Because I don't have my notifications on. I don't know. I just don't see the need to have them on because it would just get me sucked into my phone. I'm not a big fan of that. Next is thinking that asking for help is a sign of weakness. This also whoa. Hey, I'm gonna keep that in. Don't be embarrassed. We all do that. This also goes along with like feeling the need to be doing so well mentally all the time. I used to feel like I needed to do that because after I got out of the psych hospital, me always bringing that up. After I got out of there, I felt the need to be doing good all the time because, oh, I'm out of the psych ward. Oh, I'm cured. Oh, hey, no more depression. That's not how it works. Hey, that's not how it works. So I would think that asking for help was a big sign of weakness, that I couldn't do that because I'm supposed to be better. I'm supposed to be better now. I'm supposed to be cured. Hey, mental health isn't like that. Mental health is peaks and valleys, and it's not going to be a one size fits all for a cure. There's no cure to depression. There's no cure to bipolar. There's medications and there's therapies and there's things that can help you, but it's never going to go away. Like, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you want to get better. So, how about them apples? Being defensive instead of listening. This is another thing. It also goes along with me being a bad listener. Used to be a bad listener. I would get super defensive over my opinions and my thoughts instead of actually listening to what the other person has to say. And that isn't a fun person to be around at all. I'm not a fun person to have conversations with. Next is judging myself for feeling a certain way. I did make a whole episode about this, about not labeling the feelings that you have, because once we put a label on those feelings, we associate them with being bad or sad or just something that you don't want to feel. But we have these feelings for a reason, and we feel these feelings for a reason. And I think that labeling them will make you judge them. And we can't judge ourselves because we're going to feel the way we feel. We can't control that. We can control what we do with those feelings, but we cannot control how we feel. So, next is focusing on how my life looked rather than how it actually was. This was obviously big with social media. I would be so focused on what my life looked like to other people and how I was presenting myself on different social media platforms. And that wasn't fair to myself because I would put out like a really unrealistic version of my life, and then I'd realize, wow, I don't have this much fun. No, I do not have this much fun, and I'm not as happy as I make myself out to be. And that was a really hard pill to swallow because I thought that I was living a really great life because I would literally see my life through my social media and think, oh, like my life looks so good on here, so my life's going so well. And I would just avoid all the bad things because I would only, blinders is what my therapist calls them. Like, you look at life through these blinders and you don't see all the things that are actually going on around you. And I'm just not a big fan of focusing on how my life looks rather than how it actually is anymore. Measuring my value by productivity is another thing. I know I've kind of talked about this earlier, but I used to think that I needed to be productive at all times, and that would determine my value as a person for the day, which is like crazy. Like, you don't have to be productive to be a valued person, a valued member of society. You just have to be you as a person, and that's enough. Next is believing life has to follow a strict timeline. This was a big thing, especially after I graduated high school and everyone was going in different directions, and I was taking a gap year and working at my old high school. I felt very stuck where I was, and it wasn't the greatest feeling because I felt like everyone was on this strict timeline of going to college and getting the next things done, and I felt like I was kind of just stuck in high school. And I eventually got out of that rut, but I don't think that life has to follow a strict timeline. I think that we all have our own shit going on, and we all can choose how our life wants to go. Obviously, there's things that we can't control in our life, but we can build a path for ourselves. And you may not stay on that path the whole time, but you can do your best to form one. That's all we can do. And lastly, trying to do everything by myself without asking for help. This was a big thing for me because I didn't want to ask for help. Like I said before, I thought it was a sign of weakness, and it's not. And it's okay to ask for help, and you don't have to do everything on your own. That's not realistic. We as humans are innately social, and we want to be around other people, and I think that's such a cool thing because I'm a people person and I love being around other people, and I think that it's cool that we all kind of crave that interaction with others, and we can get help from other people, and it doesn't look the same for everyone. So, okay, this last part is things that I know I shouldn't be doing and I want to stop. So this is me, I'm self-aware, but also I'm having a hard time kicking these habits. Number 1, eating out constantly. I'm so bad at this because on my break at work, I'm like, oh, there's so many restaurants around. I could go to Moe's, I can go to Chipotle, Otter's Chicken, get some chicken fried rice from Volcano. There's so many restaurants around. And I go out to eat, and I waste so much money. I'm really good at budgeting, but at the same time, I'm not good at, like, I budget out a certain amount per paycheck for, like, fun and food, and I wind up putting all of that money towards eating out by myself, which isn't the wisest way of spending my money. So I need to work on that. I'm trying not to eat out constantly. Taking criticism personally is another thing that I want to stop doing. You know, people are going to critique and people are going to have their opinions, and I need to learn to stop taking it so personally because truth is, they're not really thinking about me all that much when they're giving that criticism. Like, after it happens, they probably won't think about it again throughout their day, but it'll be all that's on my mind, you know? Getting upset over small failures is another one. I beat myself up over, I don't want to say stupid shit because nothing you get upset over is stupid, but I don't know, I get down in the dumps over stupid shit that I do. I just said I wasn't going to call it stupid, and then I called it stupid, so that's the word I'm going to use. I do some stupid shit, and sometimes I beat myself up over it, and that's going to happen. We're going to make mistakes, and we're going to get upset over stupid shit, but it's all about how you bounce back from it. Next is ignoring my intuition. Oh my god, dude. That dude was necessary. Let me tell you, that was necessary. I trust my gut. Like, I know myself and I trust my gut, but at the same time, it's so hard to go with your gut. Checking my phone first thing in the morning is another one. I want to stop doing this because I know, I'm trying to learn the science of our brains, and I know that in order to have a set circadian rhythm, we have to go outside within the first 30 minutes that we're awake. And I'm really bad at doing that. I'm really good about going outside, but definitely not in the morning because I'm fucking tired and I want to stay in my bed. But 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bitch. Get the fuck out of bed, go outside, get some sunlight. It's what you gotta do, you know? It's what's good for your brain, and I want to do things that will make my brain feel good, because, dude, we all want that. I keep on having a mini heart attack thinking that this isn't recording. It definitely is. Okay. Lastly, is putting other people on a pedestal. This is... Oh, God. Okay, so let's pretend that didn't happen. It's been like 2 hours because my camera overheated, and then I started editing the podcast, and then I forgot that I needed to finish the podcast until I got to the point where I was confused why it was overheating, and I was talking about putting people up on a pedestal, so that's where I'm going to continue. I am really bad about putting people up on a pedestal and thinking that they're better than me, because, I don't know, that's kind of always been a problem for me, just thinking that everyone is better than me, and I am just inferior compared to other people, which is a problem. I am aware of that, and it's getting better. It is. I'm being honest when I say that, but I've just always put people on a pedestal, and I think that's an issue sometimes when it comes to relationships, because I'll think that they can do no wrong, and that could be a problem, because other people can make mistakes, and that just comes with holding people accountable and not justifying other people's bad behavior. Yeah, those are all the things I wanted to talk about, so I guess we'll get on to Book of the Week. I finished this book, My Dark Vanessa. Let me tell you about it. It's about this girl. Her name is Vanessa, and she's 15 years old when the novel starts. And it's about her going to this boarding school, charter school. I don't know what it's called technically, but she meets this teacher, and she is groomed by this teacher. And it kind of goes back and forth from her as a 30-year-old versus her as a 15-year-old, and it kind of like the storyline works its way towards that age, and you see what goes on throughout all the years up to her being like 30. And it was so well written. I've never read a book that was so well written, and I felt very like I was there with the characters when these things were happening, which it's hard for a book to actually get you to feel that way. Like, sure, you can get lost in a story, but this one, I felt like I was there. I was there experiencing these things with this girl, and it is a really powerful piece of literature. I will tell you that. I will recommend this to anyone that is willing to give it a read. It's good, and the ending made me cry. It's very powerful, extremely. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about it other than it's really fucking good, and I would recommend. So, yeah. And I got this book from Barnes & Noble for my birthday. It's called It's Not You by Dr. Ramani, and it's about narcissists and coping with narcissists and living with them and all the things, which I'm fascinated by because I grew up living with a narcissist, and it's done some fucked up things to my brain, so I find that extremely interesting. So that's the next one up on the list. I just finished this book like this morning, so I haven't started on the next book. Let's get into Songs of the Week. Monster Among Men by Five Sauce, Force of Nature by Lizzie McAlpine. Also, Lizzie McAlpine's gonna be on Broadway? What? That's her dream. Like, if you know Lizzie McAlpine, you know that her dream is to be on Broadway, and she's gonna be on Broadway with Jeremy Jordan. The way I'm so happy for her. She's gonna shine. She's gonna shine like the star she is. Blowing Smoke by Gracie Abrams and Forrest Gump by Frank Ocean. Let me tell you, I've been heavy into Gracie Abrams lately. I really like her music. I never really gave it a listen until I heard I Love You, I'm Sorry, and then I was like, wow, this is really good. And yeah, so Blowing Smoke is my favorite by her right now. Yeah. So thank you for listening and watching. I appreciate you. Remember that you're loved, you're valued, and you're appreciated in this world, and I love you. So goodbye.